Good morning, Spartans. I'm Luan.
And I'm Ava.
And you're watching The Ocean View. Today is Friday, September 22nd, and it's a white schedule day. This weekend is a 3-day weekend and the autumnal equinox. Get ready for the pumpkin spice lattes, flannels, cooler temperatures, scarecrows, and everything else that comes with fall.
I can't wait. Now let's get to our program.
Today we've got partly cloudy skies today for most of the day and high of 71 degrees. Go do some outdoor activities before the storm comes Saturday.
Our TOIS Class Spirit Wear store is open until October 1st. The expected delivery is October 18th. These shirts are for our annual Almost Anything Goes, which is a school-wide class competition in which every grade represents their color. 5th is black, 6th is white, 7th is blue, and 8th is red.
In addition, we're raising money this October for breast cancer awareness, culminating in a TOIS Pink Out on October 20th. We're selling pink shirts for that event. All sales are final.
Spartans, the TOIS yearbook is looking for a new and creative cover. If you can create it, it will be considered. If you like digital art, painting, sketching, or even photography, put together an 8x10 art piece to be considered for this year's yearbook cover.
This year's theme is Refresh.
Don't forget the year 2023 to 2024 and the design. All submissions can be turned into room 710 with your name and grade level on the back. The Yearbook Club will be selecting a cover artist in October. All submissions due by October 11th.
There will be a fundraiser to support TOIS esports team on Monday, October 2nd from 5 to 9. If you order online, the code is XDXPC89. If you order in the store, just let them know you are supporting TOIS esports.
It's Hispanic Heritage Month. Let's head over to Studio B for a special announcement.
Buenos días, mi nombre es Yuleika. Soy estudiante de la clase de español de la señora Amagual. Hoy es el 22 de septiembre. La temperatura está 61 grados. Hace buen tiempo. Estamos celebrando el mes de herencia. Today we're recognizing Sonia Sotomayor. Sotomayor was born in Bronx Country, New York, and she was the first Hispanic American to sit on the U.S. Supreme Court. We are very proud of their achievements. Now we return to Studio A. Adios.
Thanks. In sports, yesterday the 8th grade girls soccer team played a grueling match against Thompson Middle School. The first half ended 0-0 and the end of regulation ended 1-1 with a goal by Kelsey Craig assisted by her sister, Kenzie Craig, and Paloma Caringi. Despite the team's aggressive play and hustle, the team lost in overtime with a golden goal by Thompson Middle School. The team wants to give a big congratulations, however, to their goalkeeper, Emma Burke, who had 16 saves.
Your 6th and 7th grade girls soccer team earned a great win over Howell South in overtime by a score of 2-1. Both goals were scored by Abigail Solo, but it was a tremendous total team effort.
The boys cross-country team opened the season with a huge win over divisional rival Thompson Middle School yesterday with a score of 22-35. Top runners for the boys were Knight Howell, who took the lead and never looked back with a convincing first-place finish. Lewis D., Carter R., Andrew Zimmerman, and Tanasi Tislovitis, Duke H., and Luke Vigiago. Awesome start, boys! The girls' cross-country team suffered a tough loss to a deep Thompson Middle School team yesterday with a score of 43-20. Top runner for the girls were Leah Starkey with a blazing time of 8:59 for a dominating first-place finish. Brooke Nelson, Audrey Zimmerman, Lee P., Danielle Dwyer, Ava Tui, and Veronica Dmitrieva. Great work against a very tough team, girls. Back to work on Tuesday for another home meet next Thursday, Spartans.
The 8th grade boys soccer team lost a tough game to Thompson yesterday. Henry Roman scored for Ocean. The team will play Neptune on Tuesday.
The girls' field hockey team played with great intensity and kept up the fast-paced action of playing on a turf field as they battled it out with Thompson Middle School and came home with a win. The game ended 4-2. The goals were scored by the following Spartans: Addie, Maggie, Annabelle with 2. Assists were made by Maggie and Addie. Landon Clark remains unstoppable in goal and had 5 saves in goal.
Well, it's New Jersey Science Week, and we're going out with a quick awareness video. Thanks for tuning into The Ocean View, and I'll see you all next Tuesday. Bye!
Bye.
Here along the bayfront in Atlantic City, we're seeing more and more occurrences of what we call sunny day flooding. That's flooding that occurs during high tides. In fact, it is extremely likely that Atlantic City will experience this type of sunny day flooding at least 10 days a year by the end of the decade. And by mid-century, it's just as likely that Atlantic City and other places along the coast will experience up to 120 days a year. That's every 3 days. And even sunny day floods can damage property, disrupt travel, and hurt local businesses by keeping customers away. This increased flooding is a direct result of sea level rise triggered by our long history of greenhouse gas emissions. And New Jersey is experiencing sea level rise at rates faster than most parts of the world. In fact, we're seeing faster rates of sea level rise in part due to our position along the Atlantic seaboard and our geologic history. New Jersey-specific research indicates with high levels of certainty that sea level rise right here in our state will rise more than 1.5 feet by mid-century and continue to rise steadily throughout the century.
You know, New Jersey is ground zero for some of the worst impacts of climate change, and one of the most significant risks is the risk we face from sea level rise. New Jersey is at risk of a greater degree of sea level rise than most other places on the planet. As you can see here using NJ Flood Mapper, even 1 foot of sea level rise means that large land areas will be inundated by water at least twice daily. And that may not seem like a lot, but it is. You know, during Superstorm Sandy, it was estimated that a 2.4-inch increase in sea level rise caused an additional $3.7 billion in damages in New Jersey alone. And it demonstrates the real risk that we face from sea level rise in this state. And that is a risk that we can all confront, that we can all surmount together.
DEP has taken action to address the impact of sea level rise and flooding on coastal areas all around the state. We are providing funding for protection projects, including physical structures that protect against storm surges and the restoration of natural shorelines. These natural areas not only provide protection from flooding and erosion, but they provide essential habitat, improve water quality, and are incredibly good at taking in and storing carbon so it doesn't contribute to climate change. NJDEP is also working on amendments to the land use rules that will ensure that moving forward, flood risk is disclosed and that buildings and structures account for future conditions. Because overburdened populations in flood-prone areas tend to have less resources to rebound and become resilient, NJDEP is working with other state agencies to allocate funding and resources to benefit the most vulnerable and those that have been overburdened with environmental impacts to increase quality of life.
Projects are essential, but it's also important to share credible information so we can all understand the impacts of sea level rise in New Jersey. We are lucky to have world-renowned scientists right here in our state to help us out. They're keeping us updated on New Jersey-specific sea level rise projections, and we're working to make that information accessible to as many people in as many forms as possible. Knowledge is power. NJDEP released the first state-commissioned scientific report on climate change last year, which explains how we expect climate change to impact the state, including sea level rise projections. This summer, we released guidance on how to use those projections when planning development. We also launched the Know Your Tides social media campaign, which you can find on our Facebook and Twitter accounts, along with a photo documentation portal called My Coast to allow anyone to share their flood photos with us. And we partnered with NJ State Council on the Arts to fund partnerships between local artists and community organizations to develop individual artwork that engages the community on how they will be impacted by coastal flooding.
Watching our landscape change can be painful. It's human nature to feel tempted to turn away from this tough issue, but information is power. It provides us some control. When we make sure that we're informed about risk, we can act accordingly to address it. Using tools like NJ Flood Mapper, we can understand the risk of flooding of our community from sea level rise and storm surge under various conditions. Understanding how sea level rise may impact our commutes, our homes, school bus routes, or school buildings, or even our vacations can help us make decisions that match our individual tolerance for risk. Protect your property by looking into flood insurance, even if you aren't in the mapped flood zone. These areas did not account for climate change when they were developed. You can also consider what steps you can take to make yourself home more resilient to coastal flooding, know when to evacuate, consider making your home more resilient by elevating certain appliances or your entire home, like elevating to the appropriate level to avoid storm surges.
It's also important to prepare for coastal flooding by knowing local tides and heeding the wireless emergency alerts sent by the government through our phones. Make an evacuation plan and know your evacuation route. Do not underestimate the power of sea and water. When in doubt, get out. Earlier this year, Governor Murphy signed a law that requires every municipality in New Jersey to evaluate their vulnerability from climate change, including coastal flooding. Reach out to your local officials to see how they are planning for sea level rise, and ask them to consider implementing Sustainable Jersey's Coastal Vulnerability Assessment. Together, along with reducing our greenhouse gas emissions to prevent even more dramatic sea level rise in the future, we can take steps to be safer while we continue to enjoy all of New Jersey's beautiful coastal areas.